history of the Doc Thomas house is that it was owned by a gentleman by the name of Arden Hayes Thomas. He was a pharmacist in the South Miami area.
At that time, if you were the pharmacist, you usually had a soda fountain in your store, and you were called the Doc. So Arden Thomas was known as Doc Thomas.
He moved to South Miami in the 1920s. At the time, South Miami had 2,000 people when he moved here.
I grew up about 10 blocks away from here, and I knew Doc Thomas as a little kid, would know the pharmacist in the area. I also remember coming here to the house out back. Doc Thomas kept a couple of horses. It was an attraction for the neighborhood kids to come and bring a carrot to feed to the horses. What makes this property unique today? A couple of things. One is it's still a arts and crafts style cottage is still existing. We're using it every day in adaptive use, but the historic structure remains as it was in Doc Thomas's day. The property is become even more unique because it's not developed. Over the years, made extensive efforts to put it back to native habitat, and so it is a patch of green in the center of the urban area of South Miami and Coral Gables.
As you can see here, we are in the middle of urban South Miami, a very vibrant area today with some very successful restaurants and shops nearby. Here we sit with a beautiful house from the 1930s, a Miami-Dade historic site, and hopefully soon to be known as a national historic site.
The style is what's called arts and crafts cottage. And one of the unique details of the Doc Thomas house is that above the windows and doorways you have a scallop treatment upper frame.
He built the house in the 30s, and it was designed by the first dean of architecture at the University of Miami.
The architect was Robert Fitch Smith. He was very young at the time, but he went on to be a rather well-known local architect for buildings around this area. Among them being the buildings at Fairchild Garden. This was Robert Fitch Smith's first commission. I imagine that he just put us all into it because it was his first and he had to prove what a great architect he was, of course.
The main structural part is Dade County pine. That was locally grown, very rot resistant, very termite resistant. The outside wood and the inside walls are all of tidewater cypress. The floors are white oak floors with walnut strips and mahogany pegs. What's unique about the fireplace is the fact that you'd have one. It was much colder in the 1920s and 1930s than our winters tend to be now. This was built with Miami oolite and limestone. That's the rock that is right under us. It is a modest house with very upscale details.
The construction cost was $4,500, and Doc Thomas lived in the house until his death in the 70s.
Alice Wainwright was an attorney here, and she was on the City of Miami Commission, the first woman there, the first woman mayor of the City of Miami.
Through Alice Wainwright, one of our board members, they decided to leave the house and the property to Tropical Audubon Society.
It was just a great boom for Tropical to finally have a place to call their own.
You know, our job is to keep this beautiful home intact. It's definitely a unique home in this area of very commercial South Miami.
We can host a lot of groups and events here. The house is now serving as a meeting house for people involved in some way with nature or the community.
From the start, Tropical was interested in conservation.
And along with that, we have also a board member, Alan Steinberg, who also has made a pledge to make not only the Doc Thomas house, but the grounds in general a center. And for that reason, we are referring to the grounds as the Steinberg Nature Center. We are in just the beginning of trying to make not just the Doc Thomas House a center and meeting place, but the whole property a center to reach our community.
And this remains, in a sense, a nature center, a center where nature can take place.